Today what we're going to do is we're going to focus on equations, solving equations, multi-step equations where you have to solve for some unknown variable. We're going to do a couple problems until you call in. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what we have. First problem is we have 3/4 is equal to 4 over x. For each of these problems, what I'm going to try to do is establish what we call a mastery level understanding. And what I mean by that is not only are you going to be able to solve an equation, but you'll be able to solve the same equation in more than one way. And my philosophy is that if you can do that, you've just mastered that problem. So let's keep that in mind as we proceed. All right, so we've got 3/4 is equal to 4 over x. You're solving for x. In other words, you want to get x is equal to something. You want to make it so that this left side is equal to the right side. One way of doing that is to take 3 over 4 is equal to 4 over x. You can cross multiply these numbers. If you do that, you get 3 times x is 3x. You have 4 times 4 is equal to 16. You're multiplying 3 to x. The inverse of multiplying 3 and x is to divide on both sides. Whatever's next to the x, the inverse of multiplication is division, and you end up with x is equal to 16 over 3. Final answer. All right, so I'm using some words that you might hear your teacher say. If you're multiplying two different things, what undoes multiplication is division. If you're dividing two things, what undoes division is multiplication. Let's look at this problem from another perspective. All right, so if you have 3 over 4 is equal to 4 over x, another way to do this problem is to multiply the entire equation by the least common denominator. This denominator is 4. This denominator is x. The least common denominator would be 4x. All right, so if you multiplied by 4x here, 4x times this 4, multiply 4x times 4, the 4's cancel, and you end up with 3x. You multiply this 4x to 3/4, these 4's cancel, and you're left with 3x. You drop your equal sign down, and then you multiply 4x times this fraction. You multiply 4x times this fraction. The x's now cancel, and you end up with 4 times 4, which is 16. Now what you have is, again, you have multiplication. What undoes multiplication? Division. So you would divide by 3 on both sides, and the 3's cancel, and now you end up with x is equal to 16/3. You get the same answer. You've solved the same problem and another equation. Okay, let's take a look. All right, so we got negative 2x plus 3 is equal to 4x minus 7. The way we can do this problem, this is a multi-step problem. There's more than one step you're going to have to take. If you label variable, constant, our goal here is we're going to try to move all of the variables on one side. When I say variable, I mean anything with the letter x in it, we want it on one side. And anything without a variable, anything that just has a number in it, we're going to move to the other side. All right, so let's take a look at what we're going to do here. All right, so that's a variable. We want all of these variables on one side. So let's take negative 2x plus 3 is 4x minus 7. Okay, so we want this variable and this variable together. Let's add 2x, All right, so we end up this canceling. We get 3 is equal to 6x minus 7. We're going to finish this problem as soon as we respond to this telephone call. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling. How can we help you?
I have a math problem, and it says 22 equals 18 minus 1 over 4x.
Okay, caller. what we want to do is we're going to show you how to do this, okay? But we're also going to try to give you a mastery level understanding so you can solve it in more than one way. You can impress all of your classmates. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Let's take a look. Okay, you said 22 is equal to 18 minus 1/4 x. Didn't you say that?
Yes.
Okay, so what your teacher is probably asking you to do is they want you to try to get this 18. You want to separate the numbers and the variable. You want to get all of the numbers on one side and you want to get all of the variables on the other side. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, so that said, which number do you think you want to move, the 22 or the 18?
The 18.
Outstanding, young lady. Okay, that's outstanding. Let's move the 18 and keep in mind that it's a positive 18. So how can we move that positive 18?
We would have to like add 18 on both sides.
What do you think would undo up? That is a positive 18 that you're trying to move. What do you think you could do to a positive 18 to move it?
I'll make it a negative.
Outstanding, young lady. Outstanding. It's a positive 18, so let's subtract 18 on both sides. What that does is it removes that 18 from the right side. So now we have 22 minus 18. What's that?
4.
4. This 18 is no longer there. And what do you have over here?
That would be just a 0.
Okay, that's 0, but I was talking about right here.
4 equals 1/4 x.
Okay, don't forget this sign, okay? That's very important. It's a negative 1/4.
Oh.
X.
Negative 1/4 x.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now, what your teacher may have talked about, again, like I've been saying, is what you have right now is you have the division. Okay, this is division. So what you can do to get rid of this division is the inverse of division, which is to multiply. So what you can do is multiply what on both sides?
I'll multiply 4 on both sides.
Okay, you want to get rid of that negative too, though.
Multiply by -4.
Outstanding, young lady. You're doing wonderful, okay? Let's multiply by -4 on both sides. When you multiply by a negative, it gets rid of that negative. So now you have a positive. The 4's cancel, and you're left with x is equal to what? What's x equal to?
It would be a -16.
You did wonderful. You did wonderful, okay?
Yes.
So your answer is -16. Now what we're going to do, young lady, is give you the opportunity to impress all your classmates. We want you to operate with a mastery level understanding. Now you have to, at home, you got to do this problem again on your own, okay?
Yes.
You got to do that problem entirely on your own. But what we also want you to do is solve the same problem in another way. Mastery level understanding. Let's look at the same problem. Let's do it a different way, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's take a look. Okay, so we have 22 is equal to 18 minus 1/4 x. Okay?
All right.
Now what we said is you can multiply this entire equation by the denominator. The denominator here is 1, 22 over 1. The denominator here is what?
1.
1. What's the denominator here?
That's 4.
Outstanding. So the common denominator is 4. Let's multiply this entire equation by 4. 4 times 22 is 88. 4 times 18, that's 72, I believe. Let's make sure. 18 times 4, let's make sure. 32, yep, 72.
Yeah.
And And 4 times 1/4 x, the 4's would cancel, and you're just left with
X.
x. Now, what multiplying by the common denominator does is it gets rid of all your fractions, so you have a nice, easy equation.
Yeah.
Let's subtract. Again, this is a positive 72. So what are you going to do on both sides?
You would subtract.
Subtract 72 on both sides. And now you have 88 minus 72. You get 16 is equal to, oh, I'm sorry. That's a 72. Forgive me. I'm sorry. And that cancels. What do you have on the right-hand side now?
That's a negative X.
Very good, young lady. The common mistake, instead of put a negative X, what do you think some students would do there?
They would put a positive X.
Yeah. So they would be off by a negative.
Yeah.
So in your class, if someone gives out an answer that's just the opposite of what it should be, you might want to try to help them maybe after class or something. You say, hey, maybe you ought to be careful and bring down the proper sign. Okay, so you do that. Let's finish this. Let's finish this problem. So let's divide by what's next to the x. Let's divide by -1. And then what you end up with is x is equal to, what do you end up with?
That would be a negative 16.
Negative 16. Notice how you get the same answer.
Oh.
Mastery level understanding, young lady. You hear me?
Yes.
You try to master these problems, okay?
Okay.
You put forth your best effort, and then you call again, okay?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hendrick.